The 1950s. Everyone remembers that decade as the golden age of American cars. Huge fins, chrome everywhere, powerful V8 engines, powerful design. But there was a dark side to all of this, one so terrible that these cars have since been forgotten. Some were dangerous, some were ugly, some were true engineering disasters that should never have left the factory floor. And today, I'll show you 5 of the cheapest cars of the 1950s that failed so miserably that they became legends, but for the wrong reasons. Before we begin, please support the channel, my friend. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment. This will help me create even more great videos for you. Now, let's get started. Number 5. 1952 Kaiser Henry J. This car was meant to be affordable for those just starting to drive. The idea was logical, cheap, simple, and economical. But the problem was that Kaiser tried too hard to make it simple. First, the Henry J didn't even have a trunk. Seriously, to fit a bag or suitcase, you had to fold the rear seat. The engineers figured it would be cheaper and people would get used to it. But no one got used to it. Even in the 1950s, Americans wanted a comfortable car, not a compromise. Second, the design was striking even on the day of its presentation. When competitors were producing beautiful, chromed, flashy cars, the Henry J looked like a late 1940s model. Small, narrow, and without any style. He didn't like it. He wasn't surprised. It just was. Then the engine. For a 1952 car, 68 horsepower was a paltry pittance. Acceleration to 60 miles per hour took almost half a minute, and after just a couple thousand kilometers, the engine would start making noises that sounded like it was about to fall apart. High revs, vibrations, a weak transmission, the car literally died faster than buyers expected. But the main reason for its failure was quality. The Henry J suffered from problems with the fuel system, electrical system, door hinges, and even seats, which would simply become loose over time. The Kaiser brand had acquired a reputation for being a solid manufacturer, and buyers quickly turned their backs on it. The bottom line is simple. The Henry J was based on a good idea, but it was so poorly executed that it became one of the most disastrous cars of the 1950s. It was uncomfortable, unreliable, unattractive, and strictly speaking, unsuitable for the market. Number 4. 1957 Trabant P50. This car was born not out of engineering ambition, but out of necessity. East Germany simply didn't have the technology, materials, or resources to build a proper car. And so the Trabant became a symbol not of progress, but of limitation. The first thing that shocked everyone was the Duroplast body. It's not metal, not aluminum. It's a mixture of resin, cotton waste, and plastic. The material is rust-proof, which is a plus, but in an accident, it didn't even notice the impact. It simply cracked, broke, and literally fell apart. I won't even mention safety. The engine was another problem. A 2-stroke 500cc engine produces about 18-20 horsepower. For a car even in the 1950s, this was a disaster. Acceleration was excruciating, the top speed barely reached 90 kilometers an hour, and the vibrations were devastating. Thick smoke billowed from the rear of the Trabant. It smelled of gasoline, oil, and hopelessness. In countries with decent cars, it was a parody. The interior was equally primitive, almost no soundproofing, with closed seats, noisy instruments, and sounds like you were sitting in a large plastic container. The engineers skimped on everything, from the door handles to the ventilation. But even so, simplified to the point of absurdity, it was difficult to produce in the required quantities. The Trabant's best result was that it was one of the last cars available under the socialist system. But people waited for it for years, and when they finally got around to it, they realized they hadn't gotten a car, but a compromise on wheels. The Trabant P50 became a symbol of its era not because of its innovations, but because it was limited, uncomfortable, weak, and conservative. That's why it's considered one of the most modern cars of the 1950s. It was fuel efficient, not in technology, but in quality, performance, and safety.
Number 3. 1953 Chevrolet Corvette. Today, it's a legend. But to be honest, the first version of the Corvette was far from what we call an American icon. This car became a classic not because it was good, but because Chevrolet corrected its mistakes later. But in 1953, the Corvette was a real disappointment. First, the engine. A sports car with an engine that produces only 150 horsepower, and even then only with great effort, sounds ridiculous. Under the hood was a conventional Blue Flame Straight 6, which wasn't originally designed for a power car. It was heavy, slow, and had poor throttle response. Acceleration to 60 miles per hour took almost 11 seconds, which for a sports car was a slog. Second, the transmission. The only available option was a 2-speed power glide, 2 gears in a sports car. The Corvette felt less like a sports car and more like a heavy family coupe. It didn't shift quickly or shift well. Next, quality. Initially, Chevrolet experimented with a fiberglass body, and the first parts were riddled with defects. Panels were difficult to fit tightly, paint cracked, and doors sometimes required physical forging to close. There were so many production problems that the company only made 300 cars in the first year. The interior wasn't much help either. It looked beautiful in photos, but in reality, it was too simple. Cheap materials, minimal sound insulation, soft seats, and instruments that frequently vibrated and failed. But the main blow was the price. The Corvette cost more than many powerful V8 cars of the time, but it was also slower, less reliable, and less practical. Buyers simply didn't understand what they were paying for. The bottom line? The 1953 Corvette was the start of a great story, but it was a failure. It wasn't fast, reliable, or high quality. Only thanks to future versions did the Corvette become a legend. But the first model was one of the weakest cars of the 1950s. Number 2. 1955 Dodge LaFemme. This is one of the strangest and most misunderstood cars of the 1950s, and not because it was mechanically inferior. The problem was the idea itself, which today would be considered completely flawed. So, what did Dodge do? They decided to create a car specifically for women. But instead of truly improving comfort, safety, or practicality, the company made the most superficial decision. They repainted the car pink and added accessories. The exterior was painted a combination of heather rose and sapphire white. The interior had pink vinyl upholstery. It sounds like a stylish design, but in reality, the car looks like a lucrative marketing ploy, targeting stereotypes rather than a real audience. Instead of engineering improvements, the LaFemme received a set of accessories: a clutch, a cosmetic bag, an umbrella, a set of cards, all in the signature pink tones. But this car offered nothing new in terms of handling, comfort, or reliability. It was a standard Dodge Custom Royal, only with a ladies package that added style but offered no functionality. The problem was perception. Women, the primary target audience, didn't relate to these values. They wanted comfort, better visibility, sophisticated ergonomics, and modern equipment. But they were offered a pink interior and accessories, presented as a gift to a fashion magazine. Not production and sales, in 1955, about 1,500 cars were made, and even fewer in 1956. The LaFemme quickly disappeared from the catalog because buyers simply didn't understand why they should pay for a car created based on a marketing idea rather than on demand. Today, the LaFemme is interesting as a rarity, but not as a successful car.
This is an example of how a car company can misread the market and create a model that is remembered more as a mistake than a failure. Number 1. 1955 BMW Isetta. When people think of the more iconic cars of the 1950s, the BMW Isetta almost always comes up first. And yes, it's the bubble one with the side door that opens like a refrigerator. But the Isetta's problem wasn't just its appearance. It was literally proof that desperation could turn into a car. After the war, BMW was on the verge of bankruptcy. The company produced motorcycles, but was desperately short of money. So they bought the price of a small microcar from the Italian Iso Rivolta to quickly enter the low-cost transportation market. Thus, the 1955 BMW Isetta was born. Technically, it's practically a motorcycle with a roof. The 247cc single-cylinder engine produces about 12 horsepower. 12! That's less than a modern lawnmower. Top speed was around 50-55 miles per hour, and only if the road was smooth, the driver was light, and the wind was just right. Acceleration was like pushing a refrigerator up a hill, long, slow, and painful. The main feature was the front door. Yes, the entire dashboard suddenly opened, and the steering wheel came out with it. It looked cool, but in practice it was dangerous. Imagine an accident. The front end locks and you're trapped inside. There's no other way out. The safety was about the level of a soup can. Interior? That's a strong word for what it was. 2 seats, 0 space, and it feels like you're only hanging on by hope. The strongest wind blast and the car vibrates as if it wants to fall apart. The suspension is stiff, the wheelbase is short. You feel every pothole in your spine. But despite all this, the Isetta was popular. And not because it was better, people simply couldn't afford anything else. The car became a symbol of survival, but certainly not a symbol of quality. Today, it's called a classic. But frankly, the BMW Isetta was more of a stopgap than a real car. For the 1950s, it was odd, slow, noisy, and unsafe. And yes, it was one of the most powerful cars of its kind.